You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith.
Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Thursday, August 29th, 2019. It is also the feast day of the beheading of St. John the Baptist. This week on the Catholic Sprouts podcast, we have been answering the essential question, why do we need God? And we've come up with a couple of answers already. We've talked about how God loved us into being, and so it's only through a relationship with God that we can understand who we are. We also talked about that God alone can save us, and that our prayers for the conversion of someone else are oftentimes so much more important than going and trying to argue the faith with them. Yesterday on the feast day of St. Augustine, we reminded ourselves that God alone can offer us peace, that we were created for God, and therefore only God can fill that restless part of us. Today on the feast day of the beheading of St. John the Baptist, we're talking about another reason why we need God, and it's simply this. Jesus Christ is the only true source of strength and courage when we face adversity. Jesus Christ is the only true source for strength and courage when we face the hardships of this world, especially when we face persecution for our faith. Now, throughout history, throughout the entire time that Christianity has existed, people have been persecuted for their faith. St. John the Baptist believed that Jesus was the Messiah, and he was beheaded by Herod. The early Christians, many of them died. Many of them were crucified, just as Jesus was crucified. St. Paul was beheaded in Rome. Many Christians faced horrible torture and death because they refused to denounce their faith in Jesus Christ. Now, why? Why would we have such strong faith in Jesus? Why would we be willing to be tortured, to be killed out of love for him? Well, of course, the reason is because Jesus is God. Because Jesus was willing to do those things for us. And because Jesus is always with us. Now, this is the reason why Christians can be so strong, so brave, even in the face of persecution, because Jesus never abandons us. He is with us even when the forces of evil circle around us. He is with us. Now, chances are you have never faced true, terrible persecution for your faith, and I hope you never do. I hope that you are never asked to give your life because you won't stop believing in Jesus. But we all face little bits of persecution. In the world we live in, it is not a popular thing to believe in Jesus, to allow the teachings of Jesus to shape the way that you live. And you probably will face being picked on, being made fun of at school, in sports. Maybe you can't go to a Sunday morning hockey game because you have to go to Mass. Maybe your coach or teammates will ridicule you for this. And it's hard. It's especially hard when these terrible things come from people that you love, people that you know. And yet Jesus Christ is with you in that situation. He's standing next to you. He's saying, thank you for choosing me. I choose to be with you because you choose to be with me. That is why we can be so strong in our faith. When we choose Jesus, he chooses us. He stays with us always. And as we're going to talk about tomorrow, the little choices we make on this earth to choose Jesus, even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous, those will pay off in the most unbelievable way. They will pay off with eternal joy in heaven. And so, friends, I have a challenge for you today. On the feast day of the beheading of St. John the Baptist, I would like you please to pray for all Christians in this world that are being seriously persecuted for their faith. Christians are still being killed in parts of this world because they refuse to stop believing in Jesus. So pray for them, support them in prayer, and really pray that they can feel Jesus' presence with them when they are in those terrible, dangerous situations.
That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God intended you to be. A quick reminder to the Patreon members that you should head over to the Patreon community to download your child's and your activity for this week. For children, we have a beautiful puzzle that will help them reflect on what we've been talking about. And for adults, we have a very challenging guide for you that I hope will allow you to apply these thoughts directly to your own lives. For the direct link to the Patreon community, just check the notes for this podcast episode.